Yuki's fists look like betrayal, but every impact hides a message. Laplace catches the code, realizes his boss has been fighting the control from the inside, and Skill Steal tears Kagali free before Feldway understands the danger. AI Anime and Manga presents. Before we step back into El Dorado, please like, comment, and subscribe if you want more Slime Light Novel episodes. YouTube members get upcoming episodes early, and that support helps cover the AI narration, subtitles, thumbnails, and rendering that keep this series moving. Now Sylvia keeps Leon's full power at bay. Yuki bluffs for time, and Feldway reaches for the card he wanted to keep hidden. Laplace was the most powerful magic born among the moderate jesters. In strength and menace, he was a demon lord in all but name, and his powers were truly vicious. Kagali had reincarnated him into the body of a walking dead, but his experience and battle instincts as a former hero were still intact. On top of that, he possessed two unique skills. The first was Falsifier, a skill that interfered with an opponent's perception. It was perfect for launching all kinds of attacks. He could make the lance in his hand look like a dagger in his enemy's eyes, or make himself seem unarmed and then throw a knife from thin air. He could even make a grenade look like a knife. It was a wonderful way to toy with enemies. With Falsifier, it was also easy for him to fake his own death and escape. That skill was devious enough by itself, but it had a partner. The clairvoyant unique skill Future Sight, Laplace's ace in the hole. With it, he could see several seconds into the future whenever he wanted. That meant he always knew whether Falsifier would work against his opponent or not. He had immaculate physical abilities, a keen sense for battle, and the ability to predict the future while fighting any way he pleased. It made Laplace extremely dangerous. He called himself Vice President of the Moderate Jesters, but in pure strength he easily outclassed President Kagali. Thanks to all that, Laplace had enjoyed a long, unbeaten streak ever since becoming Magic-born. Running away was one of his best tactical tools, so he almost never admitted that he had actually lost to anyone. The only exception was when he talked about Yuuki Kagurazaka, the boy standing in front of him. But that was all in the past. Kagali's controlled voice rang out. Footman, Tier, support Leon, and while you're at it, give that man the death he so richly deserves already. Her order was the signal Laplace needed. Realizing he had no chance if he only kept running, he went on the counterattack. He had two opponents, and both of them were as strong as him or stronger. Laplace thought that, if he had to choose, the boss was probably the more dangerous one. Lady Kagali was not especially good at close-range combat after all. He had known Kagali for a very long time. He understood her strengths and weaknesses. Even though she had far surpassed her old Kazalim days, he believed he could handle her up close. Kagali had gained stamina, making her harder to beat. She had more power, more destructive force, and far greater speed. Even so, her overall battle technique had not changed. If he sharpened his reflexes and read her carefully enough, handling her was possible. But Laplace did not like his chances against Yuki. Yuki's strength looked about the same as before, but making assumptions about that was dangerous. So Laplace decided that, instead of actively engaging Kagali, he would keep a wary eye on Yuki. Laplace shouted, "Don't hate me for this, Yuki," and threw an array of knives at him. Future Sight told him that all of them would miss, so Laplace did not panic. He simply made his next move, tossing more knives toward the direction Yuki was going to dodge. He did not forget to keep Kagali in check either. He might have looked easygoing on the surface, but he was desperately working two unique skills at once just to stay alive, and even that was not enough to touch Yuki. Laplace thought, no way. Even with Future Sight, all I am seeing is my attacks missing him. Seeing only a few seconds ahead meant little against Yuki. Falsifier did not work on him at all. Laplace had once thought he could not beat Yuki, and this time too, victory seemed like a long shot. But Laplace was not about to give up for that reason. If he were the sort of man who admitted defeat that easily, he never would have stepped into such a lethal fight in the first place. More than that, Laplace had always pinned many of his dreams on what Yuki had told him. Laplace cried, "Boss, you said it yourself. You said you were gonna conquer the world."
Why are you so dumb, Laplace? You still believe in all that nonsense?
Laplace answered, "Of course I do. I'm tenacious that way. I ain't gonna give up on nothing till I die, so as long as I'm living, I'll keep on believing in ya, boss." His shout almost sounded desperate. Yuuki laughed mockingly at him.
That's beyond comical, Laplace. Just because you're a clown doesn't mean you gotta try to earn a laugh at all costs, man.
Yuuki pressed in on Laplace, talking down to him the whole time. As the two of them closed the distance, Kagali put down her ruined scepter and fired another death ray. Laplace had no time to worry about it. He was too busy feverishly parrying all of Yuuki's attacks. Laplace felt the force behind those fists and thought, is this guy really human? Otherworlders really do come in all shapes and sizes, don't they? Still, something bothered him. At first glance, Yuuki was attacking as fiercely as ever. In reality, though, his aim always seemed to be a little off. It was not because of anything Laplace was doing. Yuuki was missing by his own free will. Laplace felt it through another impact and thought, wait a second, this signal, maybe it is. Whenever he parried a punch or blocked a kick, there was a faint vibration inside the blow. Now he recognized the pattern. It was the same kind of signal he used to contact Clayman, encrypted so that nobody else could decipher it. Only trusted associates knew the code. The message was hidden in the rhythm of Yuuki's strikes. Every blocked fist and every stopped kick was carrying words that only Laplace could read. Laplace decoded it piece by piece. Hurry up and notice, idiot. When you do, play along with me. For a moment, Laplace was not sure he believed it. But there was almost no chance this was a trap. Yuuki would not need to go through that much trouble. Laplace was already going to lose if things kept going normally. So, as instructed, Laplace turned the fight into a sparring session with Yuuki.
If you want power, I got a ton more than you.
Laplace shot back. Let's see about that. They went into a grapple, and in an instant, Laplace was sent flying. Now he knew it was real. That throw contained Yuuki's next message. Laplace deciphered it while pretending to roll around on the floor, except there was very little pretending involved because it hurt badly. This time, they had latched onto each other for a short moment instead of making brief contact with fists or feet, so Yuuki could send him much more information. Laplace finally understood the current situation. Yuuki had come back to his senses. It was wonderful news in a desperate situation. Laplace smiled joyfully under his mask as he kept reading the message. Yuuki wanted him to keep pretending to fight while restraining the president. Yuuki would take care of the rest. If the boss had a plan, Laplace was ready to follow it. Without hesitation, Laplace sprang back into action. He pretended to launch a new offensive against Yuuki. Then, instead, he wrapped Kagali in a tight embrace and locked her in place. Kagali made a shocked sound, unable to understand what he was doing.
Okay, skill steal.
Kagali tried to protest. What are you? But then she fell limply to her knees. Laplace held her up. Laplace stammered. You okay, President? Kagali blinked in confusion. Huh? Laplace? What happened to... Wait, my skill? Melchizedek, it's gone? For a moment, she was lost. Then, in the next instant, Kagali realized exactly what had happened. Tira! Footman, get back here. That shout deserved praise. Kagali could not hide her surprise, but from the depths of her heart, she knew that this battle had suddenly taken a major turn. The scene around Sylvia was no less dangerous. Sylvia was still facing Leon, and she was struggling. He might have been her student, but even she had to recognize his talent. Leon had always been as good with a sword as Sylvia was. That had been true even back when he took in that light elemental and became active as a hero. But now, with the ultimate skill Metatron, Lord of Purity, he was both a world-class demon lord and a peerless swordsman. Leon fought for keeps, delivering a string of light-speed slashes. They did not truly reach the speed of light, but his sword left streaks of radiance in the air, which was where the name came from. The ultimate skill Metatron transformed those slashes into purely murderous strikes, the greatest power accessible through the holy attribute. Metatron gave Leon control over disintegration, the most powerful holy magic. With it, he could deploy the spiritual particles in his body and around his sword, turning himself into a living icon of destruction that could dismantle anything he touched. The combination of ultra-fast swordsmanship and absolute destructive power made Leon seem undefeatable. But Sylvia would not go down without a fight. Indra, her own ultimate skill, gave her rule over lightning, the mightiest of natural forces. The lightning strikes it summoned were powerful on their own, but the true essence of Indra lay elsewhere. Sylvia could transform her own body into a thunderbolt, allowing her to attack at divine speeds. That was why she had been feared as the Thunder Empress long ago, and why she could still hold her own against Leon's onslaught. She deftly maneuvered and transformed her Vajra, unleashing a constant flow of blade strikes. It let her save face as Leon's master. Inwardly, though, she felt a crisis closing in. Sylvia thought, "I knew he was strong, but he has grown this much? I am glad to see how far my pupil has advanced, but maybe not like this." That was how she truly felt, and the source of her dread was that Leon still was not fighting all out. For a moment, Sylvia said nothing. The silence made the danger feel even worse. It was her position as Leon's instructor that let her know his weakness. Leon was too soft. If an ally was nearby, he could not bring out his full force. Kindness like that was a virtue, but in battle it only left him open. Perhaps gaining strength out of a desire to protect was a good ideal for a hero to uphold, but reality was not so gentle. On a battlefield, that softness made him seem inexperienced. And Sylvia knew all of it. She knew about the orphans he had taken in and the oppressed magic-born he had gathered to create this city. Almesia gave him financial support, but Sylvia herself had helped him build this nation behind the scenes. Leon was often misunderstood because of the evil persona he showed through his words and actions, but Sylvia knew that he was actually a very kind man. When a girl named Shizu went out of control and cost the life of her friend, Leon cursed himself and called it his fault. He left her in the care of the hero of that era, reasoning that it would be better for Shizu to live in the human world than to be raised by a demon lord like himself. Sylvia knew he had continued watching over that girl, and because of that, Leon became aware of the future demon lord Rimuru before anyone else. It was a coincidence that Elen and her friends became acquainted with Shizu Izawa, but Sylvia had also been using Almesia's troops to strengthen her surveillance beyond Leon's. That was why she found all the overlapping misunderstandings so frustrating. Her pupil Leon could be weak-willed in some ways, and it drove her crazy. But she did not meddle in his affairs more than necessary. So time passed, with Sylvia watching over him and feeling frustrated. And now, at last, he had relied upon her. She had come swinging in to answer that call. But the situation she found was exceedingly bad for everyone. There was one clear reason: Leon's weakness was gone. He had always gone soft and avoided fighting for keeps, but now Michael came first in his mind. That meant Leon might finally make full use of his skill. Metatron, Lord of Purity, was a truly fearsome gift. Leon had always controlled it, using only minimal power whenever he invoked it. But Metatron was a skill best suited for large-scale annihilation. Indra was the same way, which only added to Sylvia's alarm. If Leon ever tapped fully into it, if he stopped caring about the fallout and activated the full power of his skill, this country would be wiped off the map. So Sylvia steeled herself. No matter how this turned out, she had to stop him. The battles seesawed back and forth, a furious exchange of sword clashes that seemed to last forever. The aftermath of that hyper-speed duel had already devastated the audience chamber. Worse still, the transport magic circle had been destroyed. It was made of magisteel and meant to last, but one stray strike from Leon had battered it beyond repair. It was no longer usable, they could not escape through it, and Rimuru's reinforcements would not be able to reach this place either. Sylvia regretted that mistake, but Leon was not the sort of person who could fight while protecting something at the same time. It could not be avoided, she thought. Arlos and Claude were certainly in no shape to help her. Claude stared at the clash and said, "What a mind-blowing battle this is. Even with my eyes, I cannot tell who is winning." Arlos answered, "I know this sounds strange, but don't worry, neither can I, Sir Claude. I thought I would be able to keep up with Sir Leon at full force, but I suppose that was wishful thinking." Yes, indeed, Claude murmured. They did not know who Sylvia really was, but it was clear she was not just someone off the street. Seeing that unimaginable force in action silenced them both. The same was true for Tira and Footman. Tira muttered, "Not looking good. Leon's a lot stronger than I thought." Footman laughed. Yes, it'd be quite hard to intervene in that fight. So what can we do then? Tira answered, "Guess we'll just have to pick off the wimpier guys." The two of them gave each other a high five. Then they turned toward Arlos and Claude. Arlos saw them coming. They're after us now, are they? Claude raised his sword. "We may not prevail, but at least let us raise our swords up and show them the pride of a knight." Arlos answered, "It's suicide, though, but we have no other choice." They prepared themselves. As a proud magic knight captain and instructor, they understood where they were fated to die. Their lives were like candles flickering in the wind. Then a voice rang out. "Tyr, Footman, get back here!" At the very last moment, Kagali had regained her sanity. Because of that, Arlos and Claude were fortunate enough to escape with their lives. Feldway was torn. Something truly unbelievable was happening before his eyes. For tens of thousands of years, there had been no hitches in his plans. Lately, however, it felt like everything was coming apart at the seams. It had begun with Cornu's failures, the unthinkable act of losing an entire army. The underworld gate to that world had been shut off, making any further investigation impossible. Then came the next shock, Velgrin's return. She had been banished far away into another world, where she was supposed to wait for her final destruction. Yet somehow, she had returned to the key world and completely destroyed Cornu. None of this should have been possible. But that was the reality Feldway had to face. So this time, he had gone deep into his planning, preparing for every contingency he could imagine. And now look. Yuuki had regained his freedom despite Feldway having a total lock on his brain. Kagali, who had received an angelic skill from Feldway, had recovered her wits as well. Feldway's voice sounded like it came from a deep pit. "What did you do? How did you ever escape Regalia Dominion?" He did not expect an answer. But this was Yuuki. With a detestable little grin, Yuuki spoke up.
"Oh, the reason's simple. I'm a genius, so I realized that this Regalia Dominion stuff was pretty bad news. Then I just substituted in this weird kind of will that was growing inside of me."
Feldway narrowed his eyes. "A will, you say?"
Yeah, maybe it's my ultimate skill, Mammon, Lord of Greed, acquiring its own sentience or something. I originally took that greed-based skill from Maribel after all, and I never did trust her. She was always kinda creepy, you know?
Yuuki might have become something of an expert at using Mammon, but that did not mean he trusted it. That cautious streak was a large part of what made Yuuki himself. Yuuki continued.
It was real tough too. I had to observe how this sentient Mammon was acting under your guys' rule and figure out how all of it worked. It took a lot longer than I expected, but it looks like I got it together at the worst possible timing, huh? I mean, give me a break.
He winked at Laplace and the others as he spoke. This entire sequence had been one big strategy. Even while being controlled, Yuuki had constantly observed the situation around him, and the conclusion he reached was simple. He had no way to beat Feldway right now. That might be different someday. If Yuuki kept accumulating strength, he knew he would be able to compete with Feldway eventually. He was not as fast as Rimuru, but his own growth rate was still extraordinary. For now, though, Yuuki was fanning the flames. If he could make Feldway's side think they had a clear advantage and convince them to retreat, the day would be won. In the worst case, he at least wanted to buy enough time for Rimuru to come to their aid. Merely continuing this conversation helped that cause. Yuuki's attitude infuriated Feldway, but Feldway kept calm. He thought over Yuuki's words and saw for himself that the boy was not lying. Feldway thought, so he discovered how Sir Michael's skills work. How could some mere human do that? He is dangerous, too dangerous. He narrowed his eyes, now seeing Yuuki as the enemy he truly was. Then Feldway decided to reveal one of his hidden cards. He had wanted to keep it under wraps until the last minute. But if this was how things stood, so be it. It would be better to eliminate Yuuki here than waste time examining this traitor's moves. Feldway saw Yuuki as a clear and present danger. Not because of Yuki's agitation, but because Feldway could not allow skill steal, a feature of Mammon, to go unchecked any longer. If he did, Yuki might free not only Leon, but everyone else here from Michael's control. Now that ultimate dominion had been invoked, whatever trust they once had was gone. No matter how unlikely this scenario seemed, Feldway decided the risk was unacceptable. Kagali called out, "Way to go, Sir Yuki."
Yeah, thanks.
Laplace chimed in, "No wonder you're the boss, huh? It takes a lot more than that to keep you down."
Hey, don't be shy, guys. Keep the praise coming.
Footman laughed. "I'm not at all sure what happened, but now I'm sure we have the upper hand."
I don't know about that, but yeah, at least we've got some leeway to work with, maybe.
Feldway glared reproachfully at them as they jabbered on. Sylvia shouted from her duel, "Hold it, you! Let me ask, can you take Leon's ability too?" She and Leon had continued their sword fight regardless of what was happening around them. Now they jumped away from each other, opening a short pause in the duel. That was the moment Sylvia used to ask her question. She had not even introduced herself to Yuki, but he still gave her a friendly smile.
Afraid not, sadly. Not now, anyway. I don't really have the capacity for it.
Sylvia clicked her tongue. Bah, too bad. Well, you guys take care of your own business, but don't expect any help from me, okay?
Roger that. And try to figure something out with Leon for us if you could.
Sylvia answered, "I hear you. Time to show him what his master can really do." Then Sylvia and Leon went right back at it. Yuki was glad to see it and focused fully on Feldway. Yuki's statement that he could not snatch Leon's ability from him was true. He had just taken Melchizedek, Lord of Dominion, from Kagali. There was no way he could take another ultimate skill before finishing his analysis of the first one. The important question was whether the skill had been created by its owner or granted by someone else. Kagali's skill belonged to the latter category, making it unstable and easier to take away. If a skill was more firmly rooted in the body, Yuki probably could not steal it even in perfect condition. On top of that, skill steal did not work against those superior to him. Given Leon's mind-controlled state, there was a non-zero possibility. But either way, it was not happening right this minute, and wasting time explaining the details would only put Yuki at a disadvantage. That was why Yuki had been vague at the end. He was sure the enemy would doubt him no matter what. Yuki knew he would never trust an enemy either. If he said, "I can't do it," Feldway would interpret that as, "There is a chance he will take our skills and act accordingly." That was how Yuki worked. He tried to make himself look as dangerous as possible. Right now, the enemy was not going to make any sudden moves. If the stalemate continued long enough, Yuki and the others could turn it into a tactical victory. But then Feldway laughed. Feldway's voice was low and dreadful. "Boy, oh boy, I really do need to finish you all off here, don't I?" Yuki shuddered when he heard it. At that moment, he realized his plan had already gone off track. He wondered if he had stirred Feldway up too much. No, even if Feldway went all out right here, they should be able to withstand him. Yuki against Feldway would end badly for Yuki, but now they were 5 against 1. Sylvia was holding Leon back, which meant everyone else could descend on Feldway at once. That, however, turned out to be a grave miscalculation. Feldway's final hidden card was beginning to show itself in a way Yuki could never have imagined.
Route confirmed. The next episode and full playlist are ready.
Then don't stop here. Keep watching in story order and subscribe before the next part drops.